فرزند زہرا یہ حالات برے ہیں۔
کاشانہ بصیرت ایک ایسا مکمل یوٹیوب چینل جس پر محروم بصارت کے لیے بالخصوص اور تمام افراد کے لیے بالعموم سینکڑوں کی تعداد میں اسلامی کتب دستیاب ہیں۔ لہذا گزارش ہے کہ آپ اپنی ذمہ داری نبھاتے ہوئے کاشانہ بصیرت کو سبسکرائب کرنے کے ساتھ ساتھ بیل آئیکن کو پریس کیجئے تاکہ آپ علم کے حصول کے ساتھ ساتھ مذہب اہل بیت کی اشاعت میں بھی اہم کردار ادا کرتے رہیں۔ کاشانہ بصیرت۔
فرزند زہرا یہ حالات برے ہیں۔
We are on page number 101 and part 11. Implies that all scholars from the progeny and scholars of Maraja are the same and walk the same path, and there is no consensus and the proof is not established except through the knowledge of the progeny. So is there any difference between that and your claim? And are you satisfied with that which is claimed, or you would ask them for proof? If he says, I will ask for proof, he will be told to first bring the proof for the verse which he says implies the progeny. That progeny is the same descendants, and except for Hassan and Hussein, and there are no other descendants, like the descendants of Jafar or others whose mother was not Fatima. Then he said, Mutama Imamiyah will be asked, what is your proof that Imamat is the right of one and not of the others, and the others have been restrained from it? Thus, if they present inheritance as a proof, they will be told that these Maraja people claim that Imamat belongs to the descendants of Imam Hassan, and they believe that it was transferred from one to another in his generations, and that also through the will of his father. In this way, they are opposing you in your claim, just as you are opposing others who claim that. So I say, reliance in only on Allah. The proof that Imam should only be one, and that it is that indeed none can be Imam except the most superior, and being superior is possible in two cases. That is, either he could be superior to all or superior to each of them. In any case, no more than one can be the superior most, because it is impossible for anyone to be superior to the Imam. When that is proved, and Zaydiyah also agreed to it, then the only thing is that in every age there can be only one Imam. The difference between one stand and that of the Maraja is absolutely clear. The favor is from Allah alone, and that is that the Holy Prophet clearly pointed out to Hassan and Hussein and restricted the itrat to them, as we have mentioned above. Thus, when Imam Hassan alayhi salam passed away, Imam Hussein alayhi salam was more rightful for that, because Imam Hassan alayhi salam had himself pointed to him. It was so because the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam had indicated to the imamat of Imam Hussein and restricted it to him. Hence, if Imam Hassan alayhi salam had made a will about imamat of his son, it would have been in opposition to the Messenger of Allah, and Imam Hassan is immune from this. And also, if we have no doubt that Imam Hussein alayhi salam was superior to Hassan Mut'ana bin Imam Hassan bin Ali, and in fact only the superior one can be an Imam in our view and in view of Zaydiyah. Thus, whatever we have mentioned above, the falsity of Maraja and the basis on which they had constructed their belief was destroyed. When we considered Ali bin Al-Hussein bin Ali for having those special qualities, it was not due to our partiality to him, neither have imitated anyone in this regard. We had heard traditions and reports about him, while we did not come across similar reports about Hassan Mutana. Whatever has been related about this, his knowledge of lawful and unlawful things clearly shows that he was unaware of it. In the same way, from his successor and from Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, we did not hear anything from Hassan ibn Hassan through which can be compared that we have heard about the knowledge of Ali bin al-Hussein, and the one who is knowledgeable about religion is more deserving of imamah than the one who has no knowledge. So, O Zaidiya people, if you have received some knowledge of the lawful and the prohibited things from Hassan bin al Hassan, tell us about it. If not, think deeply as per the saying of Allah, the Mighty and Sublime. The translation is he then who guides to the truth and more worthy to be followed, or he who himself does not go right unless he is guided? What then is the matter with you? How do you judge? We don't deny the merits, purity, nobility, and justice of Hassan Muthana, but Imamat is not given except to one who has knowledge of religion, recognition of divine laws, and interpretations of the book. We have not seen Zaidiya sect having faith in an Imam who believes in an interpretation of Quran according to personal opinion and deserving laws of Sharia through analogy, that is Qiyas. While the interpretation of Quran is not possible without deducing, because there was a strong possibility that if Quran had been revealed in only one dialect and the scholars of that language would have known its implications, but the fact is that the Quran was revealed in many Arab dialects and its interpretation is not possible except with the people of the explanation of lawmaker, like the prayer, zakat, hajj, and whatever is mentioned in this regard. And there are some other things in it whose implication is not known except through the explanation of the lawmaker, in bracket is tawfiq. On the basis of this, it is not right to make its literal meaning, because prior to this, you are all needful to know that in the discourse that you want to interpret, there is no scope at all in its explanation and interpretation, neither in belief nor in detail. If someone says that it cannot be denied that whatever is supposed to be learned through the explanation of the lawmaker, the Allah Almighty taught it know to his messenger, and whatever to be known from the deduction was entrusted to the scholars and made each part of Quran an explanation of another. Therefore, we are expected from replying to this claim which are making about this explanation of the lawmaker. He shall be told, it is not possible that it should be as you are saying, because we would find two different contradictory interpretations for one and the same verse, and both will be correct according to lexicon, and both can be followed, and through both we can serve Allah. And it is not right for a wise speaker to make a statement having two contradictory meanings. If someone says that, no one denies that in Quran of the two meanings only one is proved. But the thing is that when those who have knowledge of Quran, whenever they make effort, they would be able to know the correct implication. This person will be told, we reject this statement of yours and we shall inform you of the reason also, and it is that the indication in Quran to the correctness of one of the knowledge application is without two possibilities. Either there is a scope of interpretation in it, or it is not open to interpretation. If there is a scope of interpretation in it, the same thing will apply as was said about the mentioned verse. But if there is no scope of interpretation, it is certainly explanation of the lawmaker, and in its meaning the text in bracket is nas, and it is necessary that anyone who understands the knowledge will not have any difficulty in arriving at the correct meaning. It is something that reason cannot deny, and such an act can be rightly performed by a wise one. However, if we ponder upon the verses of Quran, we will not find them as such. Rather, we will find that differences of opinion with regard to their interpretation are still there among the experts of language. Also, if there are some verses that explain other verses in such a way that there is no scope of interpretation, a group that contradicts would be stubborn, and it is impossible to expose them with a little effort. One who have interpreted the verse must be ignorant of lexicon and someone other than a language expert, because when there is no scope of interpretation in a statement but you have imposed weird implication on it, it will be completely distorted. So, O you Zaidiya people, tell us about one verse of Quran which proves interpretation by the way of text or explanation of the lawmaker, and regarding which the intellectuals have had a difference of opinion. And its being difficult itself proved that there must be such an interpreter of Quran who is aware of the aim and implication of Almighty Allah, and says that he is absolutely certain of it. Then the author says that the Kitabiyah group claims Imamat for Jafar bin Muhammad and says that he had received it through the will of his respected father. They believe in his return and oppose all those who believe in Imamat after Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. They consider your Imamiyah to be in agreement with them in the Imamat of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and they differ with you in the Imamat of other Imams. Thus I say, and only upon the Almighty Allah I rely, that Imamat is not proved through anyone's agreement or disagreement. It is proved through evidences based on the truth. And I think that this author has tried to create a misunderstanding because Khitabiya is an extremist group and there is no connection between them and the Imamiya. He may reply, I meant the sect that has stopped at the Imamat of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam and which does not believe in other Imams. So this sect will be told that we believe Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam to be the Imam after Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, as you have believed that after Imam Muhammad Baqir alayhi salam, the Imam is Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and we have believed that Imam Jafar Sadiq has passed away, and this is venerable father has also passed away. And the difference between you and us in the same as that between the Sabiya and the group that has stopped at the Imamat of Amirul Mumineen alayhi salam. Thus, you may say whatever you like. Moreover, the author will be told you should know the difference between you and those who believe in that Imamat is the right of descendants of Abbas, Jafar, and Aqil, of those who are knowledgeable and virtuous among them. They also try to prove through lexicology that they are also from the progeny of the Prophet, and they say that indeed the Messenger of Allah had implied the whole progeny and not restricted the Imamah to three persons. That is Amirul Mu'mineen, Hassan, and Hussein alayhi salam, about whom we have explained before. Then the author says, the Shamatiya sect claims that Imamat was transferred through will of the father from Abdullah bin Jafar bin Muhammad, while the Qahtiya sect claims the Imamat for Ismail bin Jafar, that he got it through the will and inheritance of his father, and before that they believe in the Imamat of Abdullah bin Jafar. Today they are called Ismailiya because the generations of believers in the Imamat of Abdullah bin Jafar have become extinct. There is also a group from Qahtiya called Karamtiya, and they believe in the Imamat of Ismail bin Imam Jafar Sadiq, and they say that he received it through the will and inheritance of his father. Another group is of the Waqfiya that claims the Imamat of Imam Musa bin Jafar alayhi salam and accept him to return. However, the invalidity of the argument of Qahtiya group is so clear that it cannot remain concealed because Ismail died before Abu Abdullah Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, and a deceased man cannot be successor of a man who is alive. On the contrary, a living person can be a successor of one who is dead. However, this sect has blindly followed their leaders and ignored the evidences against their stand. No more explanation is required, as their falsehood is very much obvious and deserves to be condemned. As for the Karahmatiya, they have opposed Islam in everything because they distorted the acts of Sharia and committed all sorts of indecent acts and included them in their religion, in spite of the fact that the Imam is needed to protect religion and to establish the law of Sharia. Hence, if the Karamatiya claim that Jafar bin Muhammad or his successor appointed one as the successor who opposes Islam and Sharia and deviates the Ummah from the right path it treads, their falsehood will at once become obvious for all. No other proof would be required for that. The difference between us and all other sects is that we have among us scholars of traditions who live in different places far away from each other. And all of them have narrated the verdicts of lawful and unlawful from Jafar bin Muhammad. In this way, under normal circumstances, it is impossible that all of them should be fabricated untruths. These people have also narrated from their predecessors that Abu Abdullah Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam has made a bequest for the imamat of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. Then reports have been narrated about the merit, superiority, and knowledge of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam, and these reports are well known, whereas we have not heard except claims being made by the other sects. How can widely related mutawatir reports be compared with unreliable traditions? Hence, if you ponder upon the correct narrational reports, you would come to know the difference between Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam and other two sons of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam, Muhammad and Abdullah. In this matter, we test through those five verdicts of lawful and the unlawful whose reply was given by Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. If we had received the correct replies from the followers of any one of them, Muhammad and Abdullah, we would have said that they are right. The Imamiya have narrated that Abdullah bin Jafar was asked what is the quantity of zakat applicable on an amount of 200 dirhams. He said 5 dirhams. Then he was asked that is the zakat of 100 dirhams. He said 2.5 dirhams. If someone challenges Islam and Muslims that he is having someone who has created a like of the Quran and asks what is the difference between that and the Quran, we will tell him that the Quran is well known and available in every home and that he should bring the book he has compiled so that he may see what difference is between the two. It is exactly the same that we say about the Imamiya and other sects. Our traditions and narrational reports are in possession of Shia scholars residing all over the world, but you show us the reports regarding what you claim so that we may clarify the difference between them, or you might claim to have traditions that none has heard or known about. If you ask us the difference between these unknown traditions and the famous ones, it would be something that anyone can claim, and it's if such claims can invalidate the authentic traditions of people of the truth, that is the Imamiya sect, the same type of claim by the Brahma can invalidate the traditions, narrations, and happenings of Muslims. This is very much clear, and thanks be to Allah. The Sanahuya sect has claimed that the founder of the group has shown miracles. They are in possession of such things that proves their veracity. So the Muslims told them it is a claim that anyone can make. So you tell us something so that we may guide you to that. It cannot remove any sort of excuse, and neither can anything be proved from it. And this is just like the reply of the author of this book. The author shall be told that the Bakariya and Baziya sect have claimed that the Holy Prophet has issued statement of appointment of on the caliphate of Abu Bakr, and you refuted this claim of theirs, like we refuted your claim that Abu Abdullah Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam had made a bequest regarding the imamat of those two. So you must present your evidence and clarify the difference between yourself and the Bakariya and the Baziya sect so that we may inform you what's the difference between us and those who mentioned. The author shall also be told that he is one who claims that Jafar bin Muhammad Sadiq alayhi salam was following Zaidiya faith and that he did not claim his imamat in the way Imamiya says he did. While the fact is that Muhammad bin Ismail bin Jafar bin Muhammad has made a claim against the claim of your companion, and they say that they are quoting from their elders. So you tell us what is the difference between you and them. So we may present something better, and this is in consonance with the justice and much better for you. Another difference is that believer in the imamat of Muhammad bin Jafar and Abdullah bin Jafar admit that Hussein alayhi salam appointed for Ali Zainul Abidin, and Ali did Muhammad Baqir and Muhammad for Jafar, and our argument that Jafar did Nas for Musa Kazim alayhi salam and is the same that we present, and it is that Hussein alayhi salam appointed it for Ali, in bracket is mentioned Zainul Abidin. Another point is that if the Imam reappears and Shia begin visiting him, his knowledge will become open. His awareness of religion will be clear for all. We have seen that narrator and scholars of traditions having recorded reports about the knowledge of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam about Islamic law. These traditional reports have been compiled in book and hadith collections are also well known. Also, the personal merits of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam are so famous that no scholar of Shia and Sunni is unaware of it. It is distinctive quality of imamat. when we found it in Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam and not in other, we concluded that he alone is the Imam after his father and not his brother. One more point is that Abdullah bin Jafar died without leaving a son, and neither did he appoint anyone. Hence, those who had believed in his imamat returned to the belief in the imamat of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam. After, the only difference between our traditions and there is that their traditions do not bring certainty till there are people in the way of their narration, such that if they narrate a report, all the excuses should be disappear. Now we do not argue about their elders, we remain content with asking them only to tell us how many traditional scholars are there in this sect in the present age, so that the wide narration in bracket is the water of their traditions may be proved, just as we are able to prove this on our part. Hence, if they are capable of this, they should bring it to they should bring it out, and if not, the difference between them and us is very much clear. And praise be to Allah. And those who stop of the imamat of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam are treading the same path as that of those who have stopped of Abu Abdullah Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. We have not seen the death of any elder scholar. Its testimony has reached us only through reports and narrations. So we shall ask anyone who has stopped at the imamat of any of the imams that what is the difference between them and those who have stopped at the imamat of some other imam. They will have no answer to this. Thus, then the author says, there is a sect among them that after Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam's believe in imamat of his son Ali bin Musa alayhi salam and does not accept any other son of Imam Musa alayhi salam as the imam. They think that Ali has obtained the right to imamat through the will of his father. After that, imamat was transferred to his descendants till it reached to Imam Hassan bin Ali in bracket is Askari alayhi salam. After this, they claim that Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam had a son. They call him by the title of righteous successor, Khilaf Saleh, who died during the lifetime of his father. So after Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam, Imamat went to his brother Hassan. What they believe about Muhammad is falsified. They began to say regarding this, Allah has changed from Muhammad to Hassan, and it was changed from Ismail bin Jafar to Musa bin Jafar, as Ismail has died during the lifetime of Imam Jafar Sadiq alayhi salam. Thus, Imam Hassan bin Ali al Askari passed away in 263 AH, and also some of his companion reference to the imamat of Jafar bin Ali, like the companions of Muhammad bin Ali after his death, had turned to Hassan al Askari alayhi salam. Some of them were of the view that Jafar bin al-Naqi became rightful for imamat on the basis of the will of his father and not of his brother, Hassan bin al-Askari. After they continued to transfer imamat in the descendants of Jafar, considering it to be based on with will and inheritance. All the sects are arguing with each other in the matter of imamat, and they label each other as infidels. They falsify each other and announce immunity from the imamat of each other. Every sect is claiming of the imamat of his imam to be based on will and inheritance and prove it through things like the knowledge of unseen, whereas nonsense is better than that. None of the sect is having evidence to prove its claim, and each of them is opposed to other, but in the claim of will and inheritance all are the same. Their proof in support of their claim is their own testimony and not the statement of someone else. It is something bereft of truth, and a claim sans proof. If, in addition to the matter of will and inheritance, those claimants had any other evidence, they would have indeed brought it out. And if, to prove imamat, there is nothing other than will and inheritance, the imamat itself is invalid, because those who claim on the basis of will and inheritance are too many in number. There is no way one can reject the claim of one another and accept that of the other, as the subject of matter is the same for all. In other words, all of them are in agreement and falsifying each other, and each sect is distinct from other regarding its claim. Therefore, I reply as follows, and it is only Allah that gives the good sense tawfiq to follow the right path. If Imamat has been proved wrong because there are too many claimants for it, you accept the same about prophethood. We certainly know that many people have claimed prophethood. The author of that book has made such baseless allegations against the Imamiya sect that it seems that all have faith in it. And there is no sect among them that does not believe in the change of destiny, that is, Bada. Infidel is the one who says that there are occurrences for Allah and that his knowledge is an attainment and it is something other than this. It is the belief of the Murajia sect. If someone attributes knowledgeable of the unseen to the Imams, it is denial of Allah. In our view, he has gone beyond the pale of Islam. The least amount of justice that this author could have practiced was that he should have quoted the views of the rightful people accurately, and he should not have said that since all the sects oppose each other, it means that belief in Imamat itself has become invalid. Now, in our view, the Imam is recognized through some particular methods that we shall soon mention. Then we shall consider the statement of those people. If we find that there is no difference between two, we shall rule that the sect and belief is false. Then we shall ask the author which of those views and beliefs is correct. His statement that one sect believed in the Imamat of Musa Kazim and after him accepted his son Ali bin Musa alayhi salam as the Imam seems to be coming from someone who is absolutely ignorant of the history and traditions of the Imamiya faith, because except for those few who stopped at the Imamat of Imam Musa Kazim alayhi salam and those who adopted the belief in the Imamat of Ismail and Abdullah bin Jafar, the majority of the Imamiya reached consensus on the Imamat of Ali bin Musa alayhi salam. They related traditions about him that are collected in books. Among the traditions narrated, there were only 5 persons who, at the beginning of this incident, became associated with those beliefs. After that, their number increased. So, how the author deemed it right to say a group went to Musa Kazim. More surprising is the fact that he said till they reached to Hassan Askari and claimed that he had a son, whereas during the blessed lifetime of Ali bin Muhammad alayhi salam, there was only one group among the associates of Faris bin Hashim that believed in the imamat of his son Muhammad. Thus, it does not become a sensible man to ridicule his opponent with something that is utterly baseless. What proves the falsity of the belief of those who believe in the imamat of Muhammad is exactly the same as what we have said about Ismail bin Jafar, because the story of both of them is the same and both of them died before the demise of their respective fathers. It is impossible that a living person should appoint as his successor one who has died and issue will in his favor. Since it is such an obvious thing, there is no need of any further discussion. The difference between us and those who believe in the imamat of Jafar is that his followers make contradictory statements because is related through his followers and also through us that Jafar said, I am the Imam after my brother Muhammad. And some of them narrate that he said, I am the Imam after my brother Hassan Askari. They are also who have quoted him saying, I am the Imam after my father Ali bin Muhammad. As you see, these reports refute each other, whereas a narration regarding Abi Muhammad Hassan bin al Askari alayhi salam is widely related, means mutawatir, and there is no contradiction in it. This is the clear difference between us and them. There is also became this is then it is also became clear on us that Jafar was ignorant of divine laws because he was demanding from the mother of Imam Hassan Askari alayhi salam a brother's share in inheritance. Whereas, according to the law of inheritance followed by his ancestors, when the deceased mother is alive, the brothers are not supposed to get any share. Thus, when Jafar in bracket is mentioned, Kazab, liar, did not know the basic rules of inheritance and his ignorance was clear how he could be an imam. In these matters, we have to submit to Allah on the outward appearance. If we like, we can say a great deal in clarification, but what we have said so as far as is enough to prove that Jafar means in bracket is Kazab, liar, was not an imam. As for his saying that they have claimed that Hassan Askari had a son is wrong, because those people have not claimed it is something that has been narrated for their elders. And not only this, the narrated reports also explain the circumstances of his son going into occultation. The people created controversies only at a later stage. Thus, one who likes may refer to their books for all the details. As for this statement that all these sects argue with each other and accuse each other of the infidelity is absolutely true, but the condition of Muslim is also the same. They also accuse each other of infidelity. Let him say whatever he likes and ridicule in any way. But the fact is that the Brahma people are just like him. They similarly accuse and ridicule Islam. It means that whatever is opposed is questioned in a matter in such a way that it is intended to be a ridicule of his religion and belief. If the same thing is turned on the questioner, the same objection will apply to his religion and belief that he had leveled against his opponent's sect. Thus, that person is like one who is questioning himself and ridiculing his own religious belief. The same applies to the author of that book. Prophethood is the root and Imamat is its branch. Thus, when the author has admitted the root is not correct to ridicule the branch and help is sought from only Allah, then he say that if Imamat of a person about whom it is claimed that can be proved through will and inheritance without an anonymous argument, that Maharaja are also most deserving of this, because all are having consensus regarding the Imamat of Hassan bin Ali. Regarding the Imamat of Hassan bin Ali, also the argument of Maharaja is that he became eligible for it after his father through will and inheritance. This sect has not considered right the imamat of someone else after consensus or the imamat of Hassan Askari. On the contrary, through the same argument, they have appointed the imamat among his descendants. Apart from this, the Imamiya sects have contradictions regarding their religion. Some of them believed in corporeality of God, and the others have faith in transmigration of soul. Some are of the view that unity means Tawheed is abstract, and some believe that God is just. Along with this, they try to prove reward and retribution, and some others follow the belief of predestination and think that reward and retribution is false. Some think that God is visible, and some deny it but believe in change of destiny, and such other things of which the details will prolong the book. In these ways, these people accuse each other of infidelity and announce aloofness from each other's religion. Each of these sects has its own reliable traditions, narrators, and scholars who have conveyed the codes of religion from their respective imams to the people, and people follow them. Then the author says that when it is true, that must also be true, and it is something that is not possible and correct in our view, and we have quoted the statement without making any additions. So there is no need to prolong the book through a discussion that has neither any evidence nor any benefit. Therefore, relying only on Almighty Allah, I say, if the truth cannot be proved without a consensual argument, no truth can ever be proved. First of all, it would have proved the invalidity of Zaydiya religion, because their argument is not having consensus. Whatever he has mentioned about Maharaja is like an argument that he has taken from the Jews, because they always present this argument as a proof of their veracity, that we and they both on the prophethood of Musa, while we have differences of opinion with them as regard the prophethood of His Eminence Muhammad.